Hello again everyone, I'm Laurie Duchek, Information Officer with the Regional District of East Kootenay, and we are here today with another video update with Mike McCulley, a BC Wildfire Information Officer. And today we're going to start things off talking a little bit about the Lamb Creek fire. Mike, maybe you can just give us an update on the weather and how things are going out there today.
Sure, thanks Laurie. So we'll start with the weather. Don't have to tell anybody it's warm out. Clear skies again, same as yesterday, and probably tomorrow will be very similar. Unfortunately, there's just no significant precipitation or change in the weather in sight in the next few days at least. So we can continue to see clear, dry mornings, increase in fire behavior potentially. The good news is the winds aren't quite as strong as they were yesterday, but we'll be watching that very closely. All
right, and so taking the weather and kind of putting it onto the wall here, we've got an updated map of the Lamb Creek fire. You can see it in the hashed sort of area here. Maybe you can just explain some of the things going on the fire front today.
I will, certainly. So this map is updated as of yesterday, but we do know we did a fairly significant controlled aerial ignition, which I talked about. That did occur, and it occurred on the west flank in this area. So tomorrow when we look at the map, you will see that the fire perimeter has grown a little bit out that way. That's planned. Things went quite well. We were able to remove the fuel between the head of the fire and the guard line. On top of that, we are seeing some activity on the east side of the fire here. We know that this perimeter is not exact either. It was very smoky when they flew this track with a helicopter yesterday, so it's actually not quite as low as it looks here on the map. We probably have fire up a little higher on the hill. So approximately 1,970 hectares is the fire size right now. Our crews are doing some hand ignition along the southeast flank, very visible from the highway obviously. We would ask people though as they're traveling through that area, if they are, remind them that it's an evacuation order area, and for safety purposes. It's very interesting to watch our aircraft working on the lake, and it's different and people like to see that, but please pay attention to your driving. We certainly wouldn't want a motor vehicle accident along the highway. I just thank folks for their help there. So generally on the fire, relatively similar fire behavior to the last few days. Everything is staying within the control lines, which is great news. And that strategy continues to remove fuel from the guard lines and work towards some containment.
Okay, and yeah, it's really important to stress that that whole stretch through the Moye area is a no stopping, no parking zone, and we really need people to respect that. The main priority again comes back to safety. We've been talking about that on the fire front. We've been talking about that throughout, whether it comes to driving through the area, for the people that are under evacuation order, it all comes down to safety, so critically important. Speaking of safety, I know that there's something that we haven't maybe talked about and people I'm sure would be interested to know about is kind of the safety of the people that are out doing these ignitions and working on the line and right on the front lines of the fire. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the crews, whether it's in the air or on the ground, some of the safety protocols that are in place.
Sure, thanks. Very important for us, obviously. Our top priority always is the safety of our responders out on the fire. So I wanted to explain to folks a little bit about how we build control line out there and guard line. We start from what we call an anchor point, which would be a very safe area, possibly a lake like this, or maybe a large road or something that's very safe they can get to. And we work from that area out strategically in a very slow, cautious, and safe manner. From there we would start pushing our guard line either by hand or equipment slowly up into the fire. And as they move along the guard line, they have to ensure that they have safe zones, nice cleared areas where they can egress to if the fire gets bad, fire activity picks up, and our crews have to move out of the area. So they will work along the control lines very safely, building these escape zones as they go, trying to tie in large features like that. Maybe using old roads to work off of so that we can move through a little quicker. When they're doing this work, they have an acronym that they use called LACES, L-A-C-E-S, and I'll explain what that means for them. It's a real important piece for them. They all know it and they live by it. So the L stands for lookouts. If we are seeing weather like we are today, where the humidities are low and the temperatures are high, they will put a lookout on a hill or somewhere on a vantage point where they can see the fire, so that if things start to move quickly, the lookout can talk to the crews and say it's time to leave. That's the L. A stands for access points. I talked about that. They have to ensure they have access in and out of the area. The C stands for communication. We want to make sure that they have good communication with the lookouts and with our our dispatchers or our first aid people, whoever's covering their safety check-ins. It's very important that we know where our crews are, and we have scheduled check-ins that they do through the day. E stands for escape routes. When we get into extreme fire behavior like we're seeing this year all over the province of British Columbia, they will have to have 2 escape routes in and out of their area where they're working. They have to have them flagged with a certain ribbon. They have to practice them so they know they work, and they actually have to time them so they know how long it takes them to get in and out. That's the E. And finally, the S is the safe zones that I talked about. They have to ensure that they have these large cleared areas where they can move in and out of, and that also applies for our equipment group as well. That's how it works on the ground when they're building control lines and containment lines.
Super. That's great. So once again, that's the update on the Lamb Creek fire today, and also a little bit of a background into the safety side of things. A reminder, please make sure that if you are moving through the Moya area on the highway that you keep moving and you're safe as you do so. Coming up, we're going to speak with Donna MacPherson, who's a wildfire information officer, who's going to share an update on some of the other fires. So thanks for joining us.
Sure. Just one more thing, if I could, Larry. I would really like to give a shout out today and a big thank you to our equipment group operators. When we come into a community like this, we try to hire local folks. They're often not really recognized as part of our organization. They don't wear red shirts. They're not seen around town as firefighters, but they are right out there in the mix, in the guts of these incidents, doing their best to get folks home as well. So just, you know, for the community, a big thank you to our equipment branch folks. We really appreciate what you're doing, and you know, those safety rules apply to them as well. So thank you very much.
Definitely some skilled operators in this area that are contributing in a huge way. So thanks again, Mike, and we'll be back shortly with Donna MacPherson. And we're back now with Donna MacPherson, and Donna is one of the wildfire information officers that is here in the East Kootenay. And Donna, you're looking after some of the other fires in the Cranbrook zone. Maybe you can just touch on a few of the wildfires of note that you wanted to update us on today.
So I'm trying to talk about the ones that people are really interested in right now, and one of them is the Quinn Creek fire. So that was one of the ones that started, was lightning strike. It's moved into the Bull River drainage. It is burning in a northward direction. It's not burning toward the community of Elkford or causing any grief on that side, but it is throwing a lot of smoke up. It's throwing an awful lot of ash into the area as well. We're expecting that fire to continue to burn. Our crews are working on the south end to keep it from moving over into the next drainage, so that's where their focus is on right now, but it's the north side of that fire that's active.
Okay, and so for the people that are from Elkford that are calling in and asking about that fire, what is your message for them today?
Well, the message is they're probably going to see conditions very similar to what they saw yesterday, today, and likely tomorrow as well, where there will be periods where it will burn fairly actively, a lot of smoke and ash as well.
But currently no threat to the community?
No.
All right, and maybe touching on some of the other fires in the region.
Okay, another one I wanted to talk about was the Suwa Mountain Fire. So that's one that's of concern to the people near Elko. It has moved across that mountain. It's peeking around the corner and it is visible. At this point, there is no threat to the community of Elko or to the highway. It's just visible at this point. The other one I wanted to mention was the White River Fire, and that's in the Invermere zone. I don't have a lot of information about that one. I was asked if I could do an update and I wasn't able to do so. But we have an incident management team moving into that area. They'll be picking that information flow up and then they'll be getting it through to you. So I would assume that we'd be doing a lot more updates about those fires as well.
That's great, and I did connect actually today with some resources on that fire, and so we definitely this week will be giving updates and providing more information on the White River Complex. So is there anything else that you wanted to add today?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk once more about another fire, and it's actually very timely with what Mike was talking about Lacey's. We do have a fire called the Keno Fire. That was the one that's moving toward Alberta into Waterton Lakes. It's a very large fire, but it wasn't able to be accessed from the BC side, and it has everything to do with safety. There's only one road in. They would have had to actually go through the fire to get to the front of the fire where they could do some work to slow it down, and they had no way of getting out. So that's why we weren't working on it from the BC side. The Alberta side is on the other side. They have access to the front of the fire and they're doing their work from that side.
Okay, and I know the BC Wildfire Service is working closely with your Alberta counterparts and also with Parks Canada on that fire. So between the three agencies, there will continue to be updates and information coming out on that Keno Mountain fire.
That's true.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for joining us. We will be back soon, so make sure you stay tuned.
Thank you.